Boys, the trade deadline came and went on Tuesday, November 4th at 4 p.m. We were expected to be major sellers in this bad boy, and fortunately, we only sold one piece of the farm. And it was a cow that was virtually dead already. So we traded Jaelan Phillips off to the Eagles for a third-round pick. Incredible value. I really thought, like, when that trade was announced, I believe, on Monday, and I thought, okay, this is a sign of things to come. Like, Champ Kelly is about to cook, right? He's in the kitchen. He's working on shit. He's about to trade off all these guys who are on one-year deals, and we're going to have a bunch of draft picks for next year. And in fact, what happened is the Jets did that, and we didn't do shit. So, Dirk, where are we at, man?
I don't know. I like I said, when we saw Jaelan Phillips was traded, I was excited initially, a little sad because I do love Jaelan Phillips. But I understood, right? Like I got it. You know, he's not the same player he was. He's having a hard time finishing this year. Everybody knows the stigma with Jaelan Phillips and the injury history and all of that. So when he was traded, I was like, okay, it's exciting because things are changing, right? Here comes the ball is rolling, things are going, and then, like you guys said, absolutely nothing. And I don't think it was from a lack of Champ Kelly trying to do something. I think it was just that he could not get the deals that he wanted to get done. Like I said, I wish there was more that would have been done to kind of get a few more draft picks or a couple at least. But we did get an extra third. I did not think that we were going to get a third for Jaelan Phillips. So I felt like that was a good trade. Don't really care about the money that we took off the top. That's whatever when you're thinking about, getting draft picks. But now we're stuck pretty much with what we have as far as trade bait goes,
Yeah, the craziest thing is, like, why are we overvaluing players on a lost season? We're 2-7. Just take what you can get for these guys. I don't know, Josh. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you have to be careful, right? And that's you got to find the razor's edge, and that's something that I thought Chris Grier did horribly at, because what you don't want to do is obviously overvalue your players, because a lot of these players aren't good in the scheme of the NFL, but we do have some quality talent on this team. They may not be playing like it, or they don't have the supporting staff around their supporting cast around them to shine like the players that they are. But also you don't want to sell for just anything, right? Because at that point you're doing your team a disservice, or you're doing, in this case, the next regime a disservice by selling Waddle for a 4 and Jordan Brooks for a 7, and I'm making the shit up. Or Sealer for a 5. I mean, those don't make sense, because where the team is as a whole isn't playing well. I think a lot of things are contributing to that outside of the talent of a player, like Waddle, for example. Waddle, I know you and I have this comical debate between the two of us. Is Waddle a 1? Is he a 1A? Is he a 1B? Is he really a solid 2? I happen to think Waddle is a 1. I don't think he's a top 5 wide receiver, but he is a number 1 wide receiver on 75% of the NFL teams, in my opinion. Sealer, I think when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. You have other players like Bradley Chubb. You're not getting a 1 for Chubb. You're not getting a 2 for Chubb. You're not getting a 3 for Chubb. Could you have gotten a 4? Maybe. But if that's what the value is that you set on your player, and that doesn't come in, but like a 6 comes in, I'm keeping the player, because at a certain point you have to have resources to still put a product on the field, and you have to have resources for the next regime to come in and let them identify who is, in their vision, the foundational players that are on the squad versus the players that can go. And we talked about it in our chat between the three of us and a couple of our friends, that this team is in cap hell for the next 2 years. There's nothing we can do about it. We are in a full teardown. We are not going to be a good team for at least 1 more year, probably closer to 2. So, okay, let the guys come in, let them analyze the roster, let them make their cuts, let them make their re-signings, like Minkah Fitzpatrick, for example. If we got an offer for a 3 for Minkah, I would have said goodbye. But if we were only getting 5s for Minkah, let your new GM and your new head coach and your new everything come in and see him and say, okay, is this a foundational player for us? Do we re-sign him? Or do we let them walk? And if that's the case, if they want to resign them, fine, fuck it, resign them. If they want to let them go, see you later. It was nice knowing you, because we're going to be bad either way.
Yeah, I do appreciate you guys still giving this regime the benefit of the doubt, despite everything that they've done to us as fans. But you know, it's so funny to me to just consistently. I loved reading. I always love reading stories about how like bad like one of our competitors is. Like when the Patriots were bad under Mayo, and then there's a whole bunch of stories coming out about how dysfunctional they are and blah blah. I love it. I'll eat that up, right? And the Jets always. And now the stories are lots of articles coming out about how teams weren't quite sure what the Dolphins were trying to do during this trade deadline. And that means teams were having conversations with Miami and weren't really getting a clear message as to whether or not they were trying to sell or not trying to sell, which is a confusing state to be in and a frustrating state to be in as a fan, because it just further personifies how dysfunctional the organization's been for a while now. And it's just like, if you can't, as the owner, paint a clear picture for where you want the team to be and where you want it to go, then how do you expect the people who are working for you to do the same, right? And we obviously don't work in this organization, so we don't know what the message is on a regular basis. But if the message is muddied in any way, shape, or form, I think I don't care about any player moves. I want that to be the first thing that gets fixed. Paint a clear picture for what success looks like for this team. Paint a clear picture for what accountability looks like for this team. I want something clear. And right now, everything is about as clear as mud. And that's an unfortunate place to be.
Yeah, I think it'll be hard to. I mean, I don't know about you, Dirk. Maybe you agree, maybe disagree. But I think it's going to be hard to get a finalized, clear picture until the GM position is settled, the head coach position is settled, because those are the two, in my opinion at least, those are the two kind of key cogs that drive decisions for both roster construction, scheme versatility, what the scheme's going to look like. Are they running, what are we doing on offense? What are we doing on defense? What kind of players do we need to do those things, and so on and so forth. So, I give a little bit of grace, because right now it's, let's hang on for dear life with the tip of our fingertips before we fall off the cliff, because we have no GM. Our head coach is ass. Our quarterback is ass. Ross is kind of half checked in, checked out, which is our owner, because, word is that he's thinking about transitioning all of the responsibilities over to his daughter and his son-in-law at some point in the near future. So, I mean, there's a lot of ups. There's a lot of things up in the air. And it's hard to go into kind of this. It was hard to go, for me at least, to go into this trade deadline saying we have a clear picture. We know exactly what players we want to move. We know exactly, because I don't know. I don't even know if they know how to spell Dolphins, let alone run the organization.
I think that's far more granular than I was even thinking too.
Yeah.
I know that, obviously the trade deadline was disappointing, but like, I just want to know that there's a clear picture from Ross. Like when he's out there looking for his next GM and his next head coach, and it's like I want him to be painting this picture of, this is where we are, this is where I want to be, and this is how I want you to help us get there. The details are up to you, right? That's what a good boss does. Like the details are up to you to figure out how you're going to get there. But like, here's where you need to be in X amount of time, or whatever standards you want to set. Dirk, any thoughts on that before we move to our top 10?
Not really. I mean, you guys pretty much said it. Yeah, like Josh said, I kind of had a little bit more grace with this trade deadline. I mean, all this happened, 6 days before the trade deadline ended, and that's not a lot of time to make a bunch of splash moves and dump off a bunch of players. But I was hoping for maybe a couple more moves, and we all had the same players in mind. Everybody kind of thought the same thing, and apparently, like you said, Anthony, they did try, but unclear picture, and probably some hemming and hawing a little bit there, and just wound up not working out. And it's not to say that this is a failure and already it's the same old Dolphins. I don't really see that, because we're missing a big part of same old Dolphins. and with that big part being gone, I'm allowing myself to give a little more leeway to the hope side of this. Not hopium, but real, genuine, deserved hope. And the fact that maybe this is just going to take a little bit of time to do it right. I'm not going to jump ship just after 6 days of a new GM. I'm feeling a little more patient, I guess.
Yeah, and we've said it on the show, Anthony. I mean, you and I both agree on this. We're in roster evaluation mode. We are far and away past the, oh my God, hey, maybe we can turn this ship around. This ship is crashed. It's the Titanic. We have one side up and one side under the ocean. We are just bad, right? And we can either sit here and be pissy about it, which we already have. We got that out of our system, but we're at a point now where let's go into every single game, looking at the roster, watching the coaches, watching how things are how are the players responding to all of the noise in the media, because we all know they watch both, Frozen Fins fan show, Dirk's show, and our show on a regular basis. So, they hear it. All of the coaches and all the players. And it's just a matter of now I'm sitting back and I'm watching and seeing, okay, who do I think, for whatever the fuck it's worth, are foundational players, who's taking it seriously, who's just collecting a paycheck and kind of has phoned it in. What young players are worth keeping around versus cutting bait. And because, I mean, we're tearing this down to the studs. 50% of this roster is going to be gone in the offseason, in my opinion.